Hey, it's Big Jeff coming to you with another unboxing, and this is the first one with Jensen.
Where you can see it before you buy it.
We sold Jensen years ago, and they kind of did a revamp of the line and hit us up and said, hey, do you want another head unit source? I'm like, well, we got Kenwood.
There's one more option.
But, you know, sometimes people don't want to pay the Kenwood price, but we need some with quality. They said, yeah, the Jensen stuff, most of it is 4-volt output with tons of features. So we're doing a giveaway on this, which is another video, but this is the unboxing video. We're going to open this up. We're going to take a look at it, go over the features, and I'm going to go put it on the bench and light it up so you can kind of see it moving and working. Now, this is actually the Jensen CAR813. And before I even go, please hit that like button right now. Leave a comment. You can always leave another comment at the end, and always share this out. If you watch us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button if you're first time, or you watch us on any of the platforms, follow and like us. We do this because we like to show you the product before you buy it. Yes, and to do that, or to do all the giveaways, we got to expand our platform. So that's where you come in effect with likes and comments and shares. So without further ado, this is a cool item because the days of flip outs have disappeared. I really don't know why.
Why?
Because the flip out was a cool unit. It was a single DIN location and it came out and went up. And then a lot of cars started to go into a double DIN. So people were able to order double DINs, which is 2 units together, and you get that square brick, right? And most of those were 6-inch, 6.5, and even up to 7-inch, right? Some of them were. But as cars keep changing and the dashboards and everything else, it's even hard sometimes with the flip up to even sit right, or it gets stuck. And people wanted a bigger screen.
Bigger!
So companies started to make what they call floating screens. And floating screens, I've seen up to 15 inches.
15-inch combo.
Which is huge. This particular one is the CAR813. It is an 8-inch touchscreen multimedia. Now, let's talk about float screens, and we're gonna see that in a little bit. A float screen is actually in a single DIN or a double DIN size. Most of them are single DIN to make it work with every vehicle. And then what you have is a screen that attaches to it, and it stands out further than the flip out would be. So you have more adjustments in room if you have weird angled dashes that stick out. Also, it floats, right? Because it's just stuck onto it. Now with that, you can pivot them, you can turn them up and down. Really cool. Now the advantage of that too is you get a much larger screen. So people that have an older vehicle, and a lot of these new vehicles come with huge touch screens. I mean, incredible. In my Dodge Ram 3500, I believe it is a 10-inch long screen. I mean, it's huge, really cool. So you can do that aftermarket. Now let's talk about some cool features. One, we talked about 4-volt output. Now, for you guys that are just replacing your head unit with simple heads, mids and highs, or even a small system, not too big of a deal as long as you got 2-volt output of the RCA. That's the signal, right? But for guys that are running bigger systems, need clean power, you need 4 volts.
3 volts is it?
Oh, and even people go past that and use line drivers. But generally anything 4-volt and above is perfect for a clean signal and strong going to the amplifiers. Think of that signal as like a gas pedal, right? So when you turn the volume up, you're pushing the gas down, right? Well, with a 4-volt signal, it basically tells the amps to get to their max or wherever you have it tuned to even quicker with a cleaner signal, less distortion. Now, what other cool features? Well, most people have an Android or an iPhone now, and that's just the standard thing. This actually comes with wired and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Well, what is wired and wireless? A lot of cheap units out there, and you find them on Amazon, you see CarPlay or Android Auto, and then when you get it, it only works if you have it plugged in. And you know, nowadays everybody just wants to kind of be free flowing. Now, if you're using it to charge the phone, that's okay, but every time to use your navigation, or if you're using it for messaging apps or whatever your Android or Apple CarPlay opens up to you on the screen, you would have to have the phone plugged in. Well, guess what? This can be wired or wireless. And how does that work? Well, one, wired is a USB cable. So that's pretty simple. Wireless is this actually has a built-in Wi-Fi, and you'll see the antenna when we open this up, and you connect your smartphone via the Wi-Fi. That doesn't mean internet. That just means it connects. On top of, I am told it is a much cleaner and faster signal, which means less delay over wired. And that's kind of weird for me to think that if it's plugged in, shouldn't it work better? But the technology through the Wi-Fi, I guess, has made it where it's much faster, which means less delay when you're touching the screen or you're trying to transmit data. What's the other cool part about Android Auto and Apple CarPlay? Well, I think the biggest thing is you no longer have to spend big money for a built-in navigation unit that needs maps and updates and everything else. You will actually pull your navigation from your phone, which is pretty much updated all the time. So you don't have to worry about why is the address not showing, or if I'm searching for a business, it's not even registering there, because most map software is done the prior years. And then it takes a lot of time to even update. So with all the construction and roads, and depending where you're living, doing it through your smartphone is pretty much up to date. So that's another big feature. So this is a backlit touchscreen LCD, and it is a 1024 by 600. So for an 8-inch screen, that's a pretty good image, okay? We talked about the wired and wireless connection. Hands-free, this will also Bluetooth to your phone. And when you Bluetooth, you can transmit your audio that way, and you can also transmit talking while driving, hands-free. But through the wireless connection, if you have music apps, guess what? You can play it right on your audio. So if you're a Spotify or whatever app you use, you can use that through your Android Auto or CarPlay directly in. And then by doing it through the Wi-Fi, you actually have a very clean signal. And with this unit being 4-volt output, guess what? You have a clean signal going to your amplifiers. What's another important thing for you bass heads? And I love you bass heads. That's what Big Jeff is about. Front, rear, and sub output. Well, what is that? Well, most units, cheap ones, only have one output. Not too much of a deal.
Not a big deal.
If you're gonna do a DSP or you're gonna do a separate crossover or other parts, but having a unit that has front, rear, and sub output is pretty cool. Why? Well, you have a front stage, you have a rear stage, and then your subwoofer is normally crossed over about 120 and lower, normally generally around 80 hertz. This also, a part of that, has built-in EQ. So again, if you're not trying to ramp up and spend thousands of dollars for a DSP and all this other stuff, you can use the built-in EQ, and we're gonna go over that. This also has AM, FM, and RDS tuning, which is kind of cool. Nowadays, it actually pulls in the information. If you're still trying to get to your local stations, you will see what is playing. Now, another cool thing I'm seeing here is 2.1 amp fast charging. You know, this even takes away having another cord or another plug, and if you plug your phone directly into this, you will have fast charging. Okay, so we talked about front, rear, and also subwoofer output. Let's talk about cameras. You can actually hook up 2 backup cameras, and it has a front and rear. Now, why would somebody want a camera on the front of the car? Probably not, unless they're looking about pulling in and not hitting something. But if you have a truck and you wanted a camera in the back by the license plate, look down at your hitch or the back part, and then a second camera looking in the truck bed, that is very common. In fact, most of your newer cars already come with that. So having dual input cameras is another plus. And did I mention that this thing right now is a MAC price of $289?
That is a great deal.
Under $300, you're getting this, and we haven't even got through all the features. So reading down, we've talked about 4-volt, 3 pairs of RCAs. We've talked about front and rear camera inputs. And then you have, which some people still are using other sources, you have AV in and out. What is that for? Well, out would be if you're still doing headrest screens or flip downs, you want to do another monitor in your install. And the input means, hey, I still have access to a DVD player or some type of device that transmits video. You can run that through there. Why would you need that? Well, first off, this does not have the CD player. Most of our units, more and more, are coming without the CD or DVD mechanism. Why? Well, I remember the days when we went from tapes to CDs, right? And then you went from CDs to DVDs, right? And then CDs weren't WAV files, they were MP3s, and it's expanded to the point now that I don't even think I have really any disc. I use one for the SMD, but you can still use a USB flash drive. And on video, I don't think anybody even records to DVDs anymore. I'm sure they're still out there. So, can you play video through this? Yes, you can play video through it. You're not supposed to do it while you're driving.
Say what?
You're not supposed to do it while you're driving. The driver is not allowed in any state to see except the navigation. Is there a way to get past that? Yes, and you can figure that out, but I'm not gonna tell you, but yes, you could do it. All right, let's look at a couple of things. So we talked about an EQ. This comes with a 10-band EQ with 7 EQ presets. 10 band. Now, we sell a ton, and I mean a ton, of the Halfton EQs. And why? Well, they usually come in 4, 7, 9, and I've seen 10s. The other thing about an EQ is you get front, rear, and sub output. So if you had a cheap radio, you have one input in, and then you have your outputs out. Also, it can take a cheap radio and it magnifies, amplifies the RCAs to give you 4 volt or more. Well, guess what? This has this in there, so you don't need the EQ anymore. You get 10 bands with presets. So if you're doing bass events or you want to show off, you could preset that. Or if you just want your normal everyday driving, you could preset that. So you could tune your system and with a push of a button, change it that quick. So now on top of all this for $289, you're getting a built-in EQ. I mean, the list goes on and on. So it also has built-in crossovers for the subwoofer we talked about for the subwoofer output. And I'm reading here, you can turn it off, which is just a bypass or a pass-through. 50 hertz, 80 hertz, 120, and 160. Well, that's pretty cool because depending on your system, if you are trying to tune it to have a little bit more of a mid-bass out of it than lower notes, you can go in there and adjust that. We have a level control, and then, man, on top of it all, 6 settings for RGB. There's a button with preset colors, and you can change that. So you can make basically the buttons and everything else change colors to match your interior. I mean, the list goes on and on. Now, you also have 240 watts. Now, I'm always a little bit pushy on radio RMS ratings, 50 by 4. And the reality is a 50 by 4 amp is like that big, but the little amp on the radio is like that big. So let's just say the reality is, and one day maybe we'll throw it on a dyno and see, but you're really gonna get 8 to 10 watts RMS, which is great for inexpensive coaxials of the factory speakers. If you're not amplifying the system and you just wanted to upgrade your radio, you do have your front and rear output, left, right, front, rear output, fader and balance capabilities, which is left and right, front and back. And you can run your door speakers. Now, what happens if you're throwing a small sub in the back, but you don't have an amplifier and you're not changing door speakers? Happens all the time. You could run this radio to power your door speakers, have your subwoofer output, put an amplifier in, and you start your system. And then the upgrade to that is saying, hey, I'm ready for a 4-channel amp and new speakers. So this is a great unit from the start all the way up, and I would even see at a competition level because I go back to the 4-volt output. Now, man, that's a lot for under $300.
Boy, sure is a lot of cool stuff down here.
So, final, I'm gonna give you steering wheel input. Now, most cars have a steering wheel, and to make that work, you gotta get a module. And then for that to work, you normally use a module that would put like an IR signal out, like you're using a remote. But if your car has that built in, you can hook up a module and connect it directly here. So when you use your steering wheel, and you can actually program those for all types of things, it will automatically adjust the radio. Volume, tuning, pause, all that stuff, right? So again, all of that built into this for under $300. You already got to see this thing working a little bit. And after I'm done unboxing it, we're gonna go back and do a little bit more in there. So let's go ahead and open this thing up, okay? Because I'm really glad we got Jensen back. I think it is a quality brand for the price. And what I mean by that is, man, I can't even say that because I'll tell you what, unless you're buying a Kenwood Exelon and even some of that stuff compared to a regular Kenwood, and I'm just gonna say Kenwood because we sell Kenwood, you pay a lot more money for it. Now, yes, it does have some features and everything else, but you're not gonna get a Kenwood unit for the 4-volt output with Android and CarPlay wireless anywhere near $300 and an 8-inch screen. It's just not gonna happen. So, great unit. So let's go ahead and unpop this right here. Okay, so we have an instruction manual. Looks like we're gonna have a parts box, and then we're gonna slide this out. That looks like the screen. And there's the unit. Okay, so very nice pack. Don't have to worry about it getting destroyed during shipping. And let me tell you this, great warranty. Now that's a defect. That means you break the screen, you burn it up, that's not gonna be covered, all right? What I can tell you is if you buy it from Big Jeff Audio, we have an option called CPS, which is a 2-year extended warranty and accidental coverage. Now, a lot of people get screwed over when they buy an extended warranty, and basically the way that works, the red tape is once the factory warranty is up, 1 year or 2 year, then the one you bought kicks in. So that means if you're having a problem before that, you're kind of stuck. The other thing is with an accidental warranty, which we provide through CPS and are not that expensive, if you were to accidentally break the screen by hitting it, the phone fell off, whatever, you would either get this repaired or replaced for 2 years. And the way that works, you got to wait at least 31 days to make a claim. You also have to register that.
I need that.
How do you get the CPS? It's an option on all our products that you can click it, add it to cart, and it does it all digitally. They'll send you an email, you fill it out, and then guess what? If you have a problem, you're covered past the manufacturer's warranty. Okay, so let's take a look at this thing right quick. If you notice, there's nothing on the front. It's kind of weird, right? And it's really short. Most radios are longer. Well, that's what we talked about, that it does not have a CD or DVD mechanism. Okay, and then on the back, which we'll get some close-ups, I have an antenna, which is the Wi-Fi we spoke about. Now, which I totally dropped the ball, and I'm gonna verify, so I'll probably have to throw this in as a secondary, is I see a GPS antenna here. Wow. Okay, so if there's a GPS antenna, I'm thinking that is not maps loaded, but that will help you with your phone, the CarPlay, to get a better exact GPS location. Man, this thing gets better and better. On the back, I'm looking at front, rear, sub 1, sub 2. That wasn't even on the box. What does that mean? So I could have 2 amplifiers for the sub and control them here. Don't know if I would really have a huge use for that, but that is a cool feature. You have a video in, and then you have left and right in as audio. So if you did have a video source, you normally used to have 3 RCAs, yellow, red, and black. Red and black was your left and right audio, and yellow was the video. You have that here. Okay, then looking at the cables here, even better, I see 2 USBs. All right, Android CarPlay, Android and CarPlay, and the other one says USB charger. I can go ahead and use my phone, or I can use this as just a charger and USB, which means if I want to play music, I can do a flash drive, if I have a music device or a separate phone that's not hooked up, that I have a bunch of songs record on, I can go and hook it up to the second one here, and it will charge at the same time. So one is designated if you want to plug in your phone for the Android Auto or CarPlay, or you could do it wirelessly. Me, I would probably hang the cable out just in case you're having an issue. You can still plug it in. But then second, you have a USB, which is also like an auxiliary input, and it charges, and that's where they're talking about the 2.1 amp charging, fast charging. I mean, this thing is really cool. Now, let's look at some numbers. Because a lot of cars, you don't have the mounting depth anymore in there. I mean, because they're not having CD mechanisms. Okay, so this thing, mounting depth, is just about 4 inches. That's it. I hope that's not for everybody, but for this it is. Okay, so 4 inches, and then we're talking 1 DIN, which is basically 2 by 7 1/4 is your 1 DIN location. Okay, now I am told that in the parts box, which we're about to open up, you also comes with a tray, so if you had a double DIN location, you can use this to still mount this in a double DIN location.
That is a good idea.
That's really cool. So they thought ahead, they give you the screws for it. And then in here, yeah, that's a GPS antenna right there. Okay. And then there's a microphone here. Well, that's really cool because that plugs in and you can put the microphone in a location that sounds the best with the less feedback, air, and everything else. Why is this important? Well, the cheaper units just have a mic on the front of the radio. And sometimes the front of the radio picks up other signals, feedback, and everything else. It might be that the air conditioning blows across it. With this, which looks to be probably like a 15-foot cable, I'm not gonna unravel it. You can plug this in and mount the microphone wherever you want to get the best sound. How do you do that? Well, you go in there after you have it installed. You go ahead and plug in your microphone, you move it around, and you talk to somebody and get that best, least noise. So, I mean, again, we're still talking about under $300. Now, let's get to the screen because this is really cool. For some of you might be used to it, some of you already not used to it, and this is just totally the first time for you. Now, they do make bigger ones, but this is big screen. That's 8 inches. And on the front, we have, looks like a microphone, which is basically like when you hit the car and you want to tell it to do something, because guess what? If you're using your CarPlay Android Auto, you should have access to both, like when you talk. Hey Google, hey Alexa, you know, your stuff. Okay, we have a source button, we have a volume knob. I actually like the volume knob because it's a potentiometer and it clicks. Some volume knobs are just, you oversteer it. This is, you got a Bluetooth button, and then you have left and right. So there's not that many controls. And then this piece here is real cool, right? So this is what plugs into the front of the radio, and you can see there's a gap there. So from the front of the radio, if you have a dash sticking out, you still have a little over an inch out from there for this. And then this swivels, so you can, all types of left to right, say you want to point it more at you or more at your passenger. And then, oh, okay, cool. You can go up and down on top of it. So say I push this all the way down and I mount all the way up, I'd have a nice thing. Or I did it the other way. So this is adjust for all types of vehicle. Will this work in every single vehicle? No, but it looks like the majority of them, it will work. I would definitely look from where the unit sticks out. So from the flush area, you have about an inch there plus the inch. So you get about 2 inches that it'll stick out right from there, and that'll give you enough adjustment. Man, this is really, really cool. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Big Jeff Cam.
Big Jeff Cam activated.
Big Jeff Cam. Hey. Okay, so let's look at a close-up what I was looking at here. So we have the 2 USBs, they are labeled. You have the microphone input we talked about. You have yellow, normally means video. You have front camera input, rear camera input. We also sell cameras, backup cameras. So Jensen has some, Kenwood we have some, so you could add on and get some cameras to hook up. Okay, we have the Wi-Fi antenna we talked about, GPS antenna screws on there. You have your plug, and then here's what we're talking about. So let's look there. Okay, sub 1, sub 2, front, rear, video in, video and audio in, and you still have an antenna. Pretty simple. On the back of the unit, it has a wiring diagram for reverse input. We didn't even talk about reverse input. Reverse input means that automatically, when you put the car in reverse, it will flip the screen to the camera you have designated, right? So you would automatically see behind you. And then there is usually a parking brake pink, which tells it, hey, the parking brake's up so you can view video. So if you figured out a way to make it think that the parking brake's up, there you go. That's all I'm gonna give you. All right, so you have that there, serial number, really nice unit. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go pop this on the bench and light it up and take a look at it. I'm just gonna look at the manual because I totally missed about the microphone. I missed about the GPS antenna. All right, so we have instruction manuals, how, and even on here, which you can't see, but you will if you bought it. Actually, turn the Big Jeff Cam back on. They'll be able to see it. That extra bracket I showed you is to make this into a double DIN location, which is kind of cool. So, all right, now back to the manual. This quick start gives you the basics using Jensen CAR813, designed and engineered in the USA. Okay, so I have a full diagram here of all the wires, steering wheel control, left, right, fuse, antenna, USB charging, CarPlay Auto. So you got a full diagram there. It shows that the screen will adjust 15 degrees left to right, 25 degrees up and down. Basic instructions on how to use it inside. Looks at the EQ settings and then goes over some of the basically internal settings that you could do. And then I totally forgot about the Waze app. I know I like using the Waze app because then I know other people, it's real traffic or cops or what. So you can do the Waze app. There's the Jensen app. There's all types of stuff, man. This is really cool. So let's go ahead, get rid of this mess, and let's go hook it up on a bench with Movie Magic. Okay, Movie Magic, Big Jeff, I'm back. And as you can see, I have the unit installed. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull off that plastic. It's a safety notice. There you go. Now, like we said, this is a nice 8-inch screen. And here's a perfect example of what a dash could be like. And on this screen, you can tilt up and down, left and right, and then you can even move it up and down that way. So you can get just a perfect setup. Okay, so we have this hooked up like we're in a car, and I'm about to start the vehicle by hitting the button. And we will start to see this Jensen come alive. All right, let me turn this down 4, and I'm gonna, there we go. Okay, so it's booting up for the first time. You can see it's got LED lighting around, which is changeable. Okay, it says safety notice. Don't have this basically playing video while you're driving. But in the unboxing, I showed you all where to look to kind of bypass that, but I'm not telling you to do that. Okay, so right here, pushing on the main volume knob, you can see it has a mute, and then the potentiometer is nice because it clicks for volume control, and that's a real clean looking screen. So a few things we have in here. We have our CarPlay and Android Auto, and as we talked about in the unboxing, you can either have it plugged in or you can connect that wirelessly to here. You could also hook up your phone Bluetooth. And then you also have USB in, so if you wanted to bring music in that way. You still have FM and AM, so you have an antenna. And then we're gonna get into general, basically settings. You can leave here language, time zone, date. If you want to do daylight savings, you want to have it beep every time you hit it or not. Power off delay, why is that important? Well, you know, if you have that pop, right? You could do a power off, right? So when you shut the car off, it will not shut down for a second or two. So again, for $300 with the EQ, the turn off pop, the 2 subwoofer output, I mean, this thing is loaded from head to toe. All right, so right-hand drive, really cool. Not in the US, doesn't matter, but cars that have right-hand drive, it would flip the screen. Kind of cool if you wanted to flip this for a passenger trip and they wanted to watch video all the way, you could do that. Okay, we get down to the second one, and I want you to notice it was easy. I clicked it, there was no delay. Really cool. We have a balance and fader, subwoofer output, and then what we talked about is the frequencies. So you have subwoofer off, so you could have just a passive pass through, 50 hertz, 80 hertz, 120, 160. Then you have a subwoofer level. Then you have this EQ button. Look at that, 10 band, 32 hertz, 63, 125, 250, 500, 1K, 2K, 4K, 8K, 16K. And with the front and rear and sub output having a built-in 10 band EQ that you have presets, I mean, that's just an awesome deal. So we have a loudness, don't recommend using that. You have a default volume. What does that mean? Default volume says, I want to have it automatically start at the same volume. You ever get in a car and automatically it's just too loud all the time? You got to turn it down real quick. You could set a default volume, and then source here. You could say source level. What is most important? Which one do I want? Do I want the radio first, the USB, B2? And you can have this thing automatically boot up by that. Okay, display, illumination control, day brightness, night brightness. You can set that to auto. Wi-Fi. This will actually transmit. And you could set your password, and then you could hook up devices to this. Bluetooth. Well, we all know how Bluetooth works, and that'll be for CarPlay, Android Auto, your phone. CarPlay and Android works through the Wi-Fi. The Bluetooth would be your phone, music, sharing, things like that. Okay, and then we have our home screen. As you can see on the home screen, it's pretty simple how to use. There's your AV input, which is really cool because if you had a secondary device, or you still had a DVD player somewhere, or you have another, I don't even know what other devices you use, but if it's audio video, oh, I got it. Say you had a laptop or something, you could go ahead on the back and hook that up. So we're gonna go out to the main screen. You have your Bluetooth. You have the USB input, which is also 2.1 amp fast charging. So really cool. So you can see this unit is very easy to use. You have a microphone button there where you could basically talk to it. So it would do what you needed to do on your phone. Man, it's just a nice thing. I want to get into this real quick. Let me go back out there. Let me go to settings. And if you notice, everything is working pretty good. Here we go. Camera, we talked about this. Rear camera, front camera. Man, that's cool. Under $300, you could have a backup camera and a secondary camera. If you want one in the front of the car for pulling into places, you could. Or like I said, in the truck, you could have one looking down on the truck, like the bed, and one in the back. So that is really cool stuff that this unit has dual inputs. Let's go back here. All right, we're in the general. Let's see, display. What else did I miss? Audio, we talked about. Display, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, camera, radio. So we can set our region, RDS, RBDS. We have an about, which tells you your software version, if there was any updates, which you don't need for navigation because it's going to run through your Android Auto and you don't have to have built-in. But this did have a GPS antenna to get an exact signal where you're at. And why is that? Well, if you're hooked to a Wi-Fi source on your phone, right, it normally will pull that GPS location in. So when you connect Wi-Fi here, this has a GPS antenna, so you will be able through your CarPlay or Android Auto to have an exact location of the vehicle, which way it's driving. So this is a really cute, cool unit. I really like how easy to use. You can see just simple touching. It really works really nice. Now, we do have RGB coloring, so you can actually adjust for the lighting here. You can do your source button on the front, or you could do it manually. There is presets. I mean, this is just a really cool single option. Now, don't have a device connected to it. I'm not going to go through all that. You know how that works, but you could dial out, you could bring up your contacts, your history, and you can have multiple devices on here. So, man, 300 bucks. This is a really cool unit. So let me go ahead and get back to the video, and we'll finish the rest of the unboxing with Movie Magic. We'll be right back. Hey, we're back. So you got to see this thing light up and operate. Really cool, man, for $289. I don't think there's much out there besides some Chinese import that's going to freeze up, give you issues. It's a good unit. So because we're doing a giveaway, if you're watching this video and the giveaway is still happening, the code word is bogus. Yes. So you would have to watch this video to get that word, to text us that word to finish the actual giveaway. But if you're watching this video too late, this is Saturday the 18th. So that means we're going to do the giveaway next week or so. Or you're watching this now, go look on our social media and or YouTube for the giveaway video. You would have to have seen this video to know the word bogus. And then that would be the finish to entering. Okay. So I'm Big Jeff with another unboxing. You didn't get to hear it, but you got to see it, power it up, and we went over it, and I learned some things today too. So smash that like, please leave a comment, and spread the word. Help bring more people to the Big Jeff Audio platform. We wouldn't be here without you. And you do that by sharing this stuff out. So I'm Big Jeff from BigJeffAudio.com, signing off.